Does anyone remember what this is? The thing, yes, that's exactly what it is. It is the thing. Okay? It is the standard form for a quadratic. Okay? Standard form, general form, something like that of a quadratic. Okay? This is going to be really important to us the next couple days. And here's what I think is funny. We haven't even gotten to the part where we've studied quadratics yet in here. Okay? What they're assuming is that you remember this from Algebra 1. So I decided to remind you about it first, instead of just assuming you remembered. All right? So let's talk about this real quick. Where is the A? Okay, I know that you guys know what an A looks like, so I didn't have any problem underlining it for you. Okay? But where physically is the A? What's it always with? The x squared. So even if it's not in the right form, you know where the A is because the A is with the x squared. Where's the B? Oh, it's with the x. And where's the C? By itself. It is a constant, right? Okay? This is going to be, like I said a second ago, this is going to be really important for us today. Okay? You know how sometimes I teach you like a really general way because it works every time, and then I can teach you a shortcut? Today is no different. Okay? Today I'm going to teach you the really general way to factor trinomials, and then I'll show you the shortcut. You okay with that? Because today, I promise today, we will almost exclusively be using the shortcut. But if I'll teach you the general way right now to begin with, even if for some reason I wasn't even here tomorrow, you guys could totally walk in and do tomorrow's lesson if you'll remember the general way. No problem. The numbers are going to be bigger tomorrow. They're going to be uglier. Well, I shouldn't really judge numbers on their attractiveness, but you know what I'm saying, right? They're going to be not typical numbers that you're going to see today, but if you'll remember the general way that I'm going to show you first, tomorrow's going to be easy. Okay? It's going to take a little bit more time, but it's still going to be easy because you know the general way. Okay, so are you ready? No, you're supposed to go, yeah! Okay, awesome. So here's where we're going to start. X squared minus 4x minus 32. Okay? X squared minus 4x minus 32. What is this called? Why? It's called a trinomial because there's 3 numbers or terms. Okay? Pretty simple, but vocabulary is important, right? So I need you to identify A for me. A is 1. Because that's where A is, right? What about B? B is negative 4, right? We got to make sure to keep our signs with it. And what about C? C is negative 32. So if my directions for this are to factor, or if I know in general that I'm trying to factor, here's what we do. Okay? Now here's the other thing before I actually show you the steps. See, I'm trying to generate like tension because you're going to be so excited by the time you finally figure out how to do it. Okay? Pausing a little bit, telling a short story, things like that. Here's what's so important about factoring. Okay? We worked on some stuff yesterday, some in difference of squares, some in difference of cubes, grouping, things like that. Trinomials is today and tomorrow. Guys, factoring doesn't just show up in this chapter isolated and then we leave it and never do it again. Factoring shows up in so many different places. Okay? It's going to show up when we're doing rational functions because that's one of the ways that we can simplify rational functions is by factoring the polynomials that are there. Guys, it shows up in calculus. It even showed up in some of my master classes. And I was super pumped about that because I'm good at factoring. I could factor stuff, right? So then I would struggle with the rest of it, but at least I had the factoring, right? Although I did well because I passed and I graduated, right? So that's what's important, okay? So here is the equation I'm going with. The first thing I want to do is I want to find AC. So what do I want to do with A and C? Multiply them. How did you know that? It doesn't say multiply. There's no dot. Oh, they're right next to each other. That could just mean they're friends. But it doesn't, right? They're probably friends. I don't want to judge that. But when they're sitting next to each other, you know that means that you got to multiply them, right? So in this case, A is 1 and C is negative 32. Well, what's 1 times negative 32? Negative 32. And like I told you before, I'm taking you all the way through this way that works every time. Slowly, so that you'll feel more confident when we can do the shortcut and then when we get to tomorrow. Okay? The other thing I have to know is B. Negative 4. They misunderstood me earlier because they thought I said now you have to know A, B. And people were like, oh yeah, I know one of those. I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the letter B. Okay? So, it's okay. Shh. So, now, when I look at AC and B, I have that knowledge and I have it written down here. What I have to figure out is what two numbers multiply to be AC and add to be B. Now, some of you have already thought about it in your head, and if you did, that's great, but you be quiet because we're going slow. We got to have all the structures built up for us, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list all the numbers that I know that multiply to be AC. That's probably quicker than thinking about all the numbers that add to 4, isn't it? So if I'm thinking about what numbers multiply to be 32, first of all, I know it says 32. I'm not just ignoring that. I'm just not really thinking about it right now. That'll come into play in a second. Okay? 1 and 32 multiply to be 32, don't they? Okay, 1, 2. 2 and 16. Okay, 3. Nope, 3 is not divisible, is it? Okay, 4. 4 and 8. Okay, 5. Nope, 5 doesn't work. 6. Nope, 6 doesn't work. 7. Nope, 7 doesn't work. 8. 8 would start back over here in this column, right? So that's all the multiples of 32, right? Is there a combination of these two numbers, like this set of numbers or this set of numbers or this set of numbers, that multiply to be a negative 32 and add to be a negative 4? If they multiply to be negative 32, one of them has to be a negative, right? So that's something we have to think about in our head. I'm not going to go through every single step of this because, first of all, I know a lot of you already know the answer, okay? But if you didn't know the answer, start here and say 1 and negative 32. That definitely multiplies to be negative 32. Does 1 and negative 32 add together to be negative 4? No, that's the kind of thought process that has to go on here, okay? You guys told me a minute ago that it's the combination of the 4 and the 8, right? Is it a negative 4 and a positive 8 or a positive 4 and a negative 8? Negative 8. What if it was a negative 4 and a positive 8? It would add to be 4, right? So that in a situation where this had x squared plus 4x minus 32, that would be our answer, wouldn't it? So we just got to be real careful about our signs. So I know that it should be a positive 4 and a negative 8. That's the answer that I get. Okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rewrite my problem. I'm going to rewrite this problem right here, but when I get to the middle term, I'm going to do something different. Okay? So I've got the first term just fine. I'm not going to rewrite the middle term that's there. I'm going to rewrite the two terms that I used to split that middle term into. When I found AC and when I found B, the purpose was to find the two numbers that still represent the negative 4 if I'm adding them together. You okay with that? So instead, I'm going to write plus 4x minus 8x minus 32. Do you see how this split into two different parts? Have I changed the value of the equation? No, I haven't, right? I kept it to be negative 4. My representation of negative 4, though, is positive 4 and negative 8 together. You okay with that? Guys, now there's 4 terms. How do I factor something with 4 terms? Grouping, just like you did yesterday. You guys were really good at grouping yesterday. Are you still good at grouping today? Then let's look at the first 2 terms. What's common in the first 2 terms? X. What's left when I divide an x out of each of those 2 terms? X plus 4. Now just look at the next 2 terms. What's common in the next 2 terms? An 8, right? But Oh, it should be negative 8, right? Now, I know, I agree with you that it's an 8, but think about thinking where we're going. If I just take out an 8, I'm not going to get a parentheses that has an x plus 4, and I know I need that, right? So if I factor out a negative 8, what's left? X plus 4, just like I needed. Does this term and this term have a common factor? X plus 4, right? They both have an x plus 4. If I factor out an x plus 4 from the first term, what do I have left? X. If I factor out an x plus 4 from the second term, what do I have left? Negative 8. That is my answer. Now, Channing just looked at me really funny, and she was like, here's the conversation we just had, like ESP-wise, right? She was like, 4 and 8, except that's the numbers we chose over here. I'm like, I know, Channing. Give me just a second. Do you see the shortcut? Are you comfortable with the long cut? Finding AC, finding B, splitting the middle term into two parts, and then factoring by grouping. Are you comfortable with that? Yeah, that's a pretty simple process, right? It's a bit long, right? Tomorrow it will be absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. Because tomorrow, guess what A is not going to be? It's not going to be 1. This shortcut works when A is 1. When A is 1, I don't really need to worry about AC, do I? Because A is already 1, so it's just going to be that C value. I mean, I still want to write AC because that's the process that we have going on. Okay? But splitting the middle term is kind of a long cut, because once I find AC and B and figure out what two numbers multiply to be AC and add to be B, that tells me what my two factors are going to be. X plus 4, X minus 8. You okay with that? Let's see if you are. X squared plus 8x plus 12. Quietly to yourself, find AC. And quietly to yourself, find B. I think AC is 12. What do you think B is? 8. Can you think of two numbers that multiply to be 12 and add to be 8? 2 and 6. Can I go straight to my factors? Why can I go straight to my factors? A is 1. Okay? The other thing that this is called is the leading coefficient. It's the coefficient in front when everything's in order. Okay? When my leading coefficient is 1, I can go straight to my factors. X plus 2, X plus 6. Done. Guys, if this is my problem and this is my answer, where's my work? Oh yeah, this. Don't tell me you can do it in your head. I'll be so happy that you can do it in your head, but I would like you to write it down for me. Doesn't take that long, does it? What about this one? X squared minus 11x plus 24. Did you get what I got? Yes or no? Yes? Good. Any questions about this? Easy or hard? Easy, right? Today's easy. Is tomorrow going to be hard then? No, not if we follow the same structure that we've been doing right up here. Tomorrow we'll need to split the middle terms and factor by grouping to get our factors. Okay? But I wanted to set this general form up for you today so that you can still do this, can't you, to get today's answers? But there is a shortcut. does the shortcut work every time? When does it work? When A is 1. All of your problems today have A as 1. Because they're hard? Or because it's important? Because it's important. Okay?